Yeah, I stay in Mexico. We had all in the airport for 20 years.
Right. Yeah, I think it would be like 5 minutes.
That's what they engage.
Yeah.
We have no problem with leaving.
I'll tell you, the Americans, I was with, they were pretty upset that they had to pass there's no COVID. Campus, two rides and all these other things.
Didn't start yet. No, not officially, I guess.
Amy's gonna get it
I
started.
don't know, I just spotted that today, so he must have. I don't know what made me.
We did basically the same stuff. And then the same. The islands somewhere. Very. Exactly. And those are big. It
was a good time. Yeah.
We booked different years.
Oh, Rebecca might be in like she has come here. She has to go on
She's not. She does not.
I told her that. Yeah. All right. Okay. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the May 3rd. Are we recording? Yes, we are. Hey, good on you, Rachel. Welcome to the May 31st meeting of the Bowmanville Rotary Club. If I could ask you to stand, please, and we'll sing "Oh Canada." Oh Canada, our home and native land. True patriot love, in all our sons command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, a true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land, glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. I forgot your Rachel. I'm just switching the order up a little bit. So a toast to Her Majesty the Queen. Jubilee Week, and to Canada and Rotary International. And our land acknowledgement. As people who live in gratitude, we acknowledge that we are here living on the traditional air territory of the Mississaugas of Scugog Island First Nation. We are people of service, and we offer our gratitude to the Indigenous people for their care of the land and our teachings about this earth. Rachel. Still gotta get the word on that. I'm like, what are you not forgetting for? I forgot to, then I remember. I forgot heels.
As we go through our lives, our ups and our downs, our moments of grief and our moments of celebration, may we continue to love each other, support each other, and celebrate each other. The friendships and fellowship of Rotary is greater than any fundraiser we would do.
Now, was going to send me birthdays and anniversaries. And,
She sent it to me and I forgot it over.
okay, I was gonna say, I checked and I checked twice and I didn't. She's,
Okay,
imagine them, they're off,
thanks.
gallivanting. So we'll maybe come back to that if we.
Yeah, I'll go run and get my phone. It's in my phone.
Unless anybody here knows, do you have a birthday?
It's an anniversary of someone and I don't know it. I'll go.
All right, so our sergeant at arms, Joe, you are going to be our sergeant at
I
arms.
am. Okay,
Just you and me, Lisa. So.
Gonna start out with a picture. This bird is cormorant. Where is North America's largest colony of cormorants? More specific? No, more specific. Tommy Thompson Park.
That is very specific.
That's what we expect. 13,000. I've got to get the rest of the questions. Table of two. Table of two. Oh, these guys, are you, you know what? Are you guys sportsmen?
Yeah, you guys, but not necessarily knowledgeable.
There was 5 teams. This is, by the way, all of them for. Yeah. 5 teams in Major League Baseball and the NHL combined have names of birds. Names.
Yeah, here. Penguins. Number 3. Baseball and hockey.
Yeah.
Blue Jays. Wow, I forgot about that one. How could I forget about that one? We got 4.
3, 2, 1.
What was the fifth one?
Oh, yeah.
What is the official bird of Canada here?
Soccer is the.
No, it's the, Canada Jay.
You got it.
That show.
Rouge is Ontario. Okay, you should know this. Because there is a wooden sculpture, there's a wooden sculpture. Excuse me. Okay, that's it. You know what I didn't do? I didn't do name tags. There's one.
But they said, well, Jim and I
So there is a wooden sculpture on the waterfront trail at the entrance to the marsh beside OPG. You know that marsh? Yes. It's carved by Jody M. Potash of the Hiawatha First Nation, kind of like a mini totem. It depicts a fish and what species of bird that lives along the waterfront trail.
Excellent.
I have one last one for the Zoom crowd. And Leanna cannot answer this. Everyone but Leanna can be in on this. Sorry. The carded alvar is renowned among birders. Is its wingspan 5 feet, 10 feet, 15 feet, or none of the above? Zoomers, anybody know? The answer is none of the above. It's an incredible birding area that is in the core. So it's not a bird at all. So you guys all, oh my, there you go.
It's an area? It's an area?
It's an area, yeah.
Oh, so it's more than 15 feet.
It sounds like a bird. It sounds like a condor or something, but it's actually an incredible area that I went to Leanna and Jim that I was going to talk about.
Perfect. Thank you, Joe. Chris?
All right.
The
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Okay, our speaker today is our very own Renee Bos. Renee's been a member of our club, a key member of our club, I should say, for many years. She's a member of the youth committee, and she's a great supporter of the Ottawa First Nations nursery program. Been around, she's been up there quite a few times. About 16 years ago, Renee and her husband, Andre, started a small bee business as a hobby, which is now grown into a fully fledged registered business. They supply their products to stores in GTA, and they also sell that from the honey, and I guess there's other things that go with that from their home. And I have tried the honey. It's delicious. So get a chance, try. Renee is going to talk to us about bees today. What she doesn't know about bees, you don't need to know. After all, her email address is Queen Bee 49. I'm not sure what the 49 is, Renee, but I have a good guess. So we know your age now too. So Renee is going to talk to us about bees, and what a wonderful thing bees are. Without them, probably we wouldn't exist. So Renee.
Morning, everyone again. Bees are very, very popular nowadays. There is so much to tell you about. But there is a bee, and there is not a bee. A lot of people come to our house, they go, can you come? We have all these bees, maybe you want them. And Andre goes there, it's wasps. People call wasps bees. There is like quite a difference. A honeybee is very small and brown, and a wasp is yellow stripes. Those are the aggressive ones. A honeybee really doesn't sting unless you disturb them. So that's a little thing to know. If you call me and you say you have bees, I will ask, what color are they? To let me know what you have. Bees are so popular that a lot of people are starting nowadays with bees because they hear about the environment and how important they are for pollination, for the crops. What they don't realize how much work is involved with that. They think, oh, we'll put like 1 or 2 beehives in the backyard somewhere. And in September, at the end of July, we start to get the honey and then that's it. No, that's not what it is. So we get lots of calls from hobby bee farmers or bee people, and they say, can you please pick up those hives? We didn't know how much work it was, because you have to check your bees almost daily in the summer, for the reason that we get raccoons and foxes and other wildlife, bears, we have bears, destroying the hives. And if you look at a hive is about $300. So if you have like 60 hives, or what we had a few years ago, 120, that's a lot of money involved. So you want to be on the wall, check that every day and see what's going on. These things with the bears was a big problem. We had some land in Newcastle where we had bees, and about 4 times they destroyed our hives. They would just throw the boxes over, they take the frames out and eat it all and leave the mess for us to clean up. So there's a lot to it. And another thing is, nowadays, the Varroa mite is a big problem in beekeeping. The Varroa mite comes up from the States. They integrated themselves into the Canadian bee colonies, and they suck the blood out of the bees, and the bees die. It's a big problem. Now, there is a natural product that we can use, an acid, what we put into the hives, like a little sponge thing at the entrance of the hive, but on top of the hive, the bees go in they get that little bit of acid on their body and it will kill the mites. Even though treating it, it's still a big problem. So all in all, there is a lot of time involved. And then when July comes, the bees are very, very active in the hot summer, and they grow a lot of baby bees. And then you have to watch that your hive is not getting too full, because what happens if it's too crowded in the hive, the queen will take off with her bees. And so in the meantime, there is a new queen already growing in the hive, but still you lose that whole swarm and can end up anywhere, in your backyard, in town. I had it once. I came home from the grocery shop and I'm thinking, what the heck is that? I had this big, huge ball hanging on my tree of bees, and the noise, like you won't believe how much noise they make. So I call Andre, get home. We have a big like swarm on the tree. So he came home, put on his bee suit and shook the tree. And as long as the queen gets into the hive, the bees will follow her. So within like 20 minutes, they were all back in the box. And they were probably not even our bees, because our bees are too far away. And bees stay around 3 kilometers in a diameter from the hive. So they do not go out of the 3 kilometer zone. They stay in that area. So if I have my bees, say, in Newcastle on our land, and I get bees in my front yard hanging on a tree, they are not my bees. But hey, thank you very much. We got like a new box. A hive contains about 50 to 60,000 bees in the summer, when it's like in the top season. So count it out, 60 hive times 50,000 right now. It's a lot of bees. Okay, they have to keep the temperature even in the hives as well, and they do that by flapping their wings, so they get like ventilation. And in the winter they do the same thing to keep warm, and they go into a nebula almost in the winter. They circle around and around and around. So the bees which are in the center end up on the outside, and vice versa. They go round and round and round. And the temperature in the hive stays about like 16 degrees, even in the cold of winter. And if it is a very beautiful sunny day, they come out and they stretch their little wings. And sometimes we go for a drive and check them out, and we see little black spots in the snow. So we know they have been flying out and doing their business. It's a very interesting hobby business now, but yeah, Andre started 16 years ago, like Chris said earlier. But then, yeah, it grew out bigger and bigger and bigger. But now we're to the point we cut down 50%. We sold some of the hives, and but probably after this year it will go down a little bit more as we get older. And it's a lot of work. The honey season runs from about, I would say, the end of June till the end of September. That's when you do the harvesting. You have about 100 pounds in your boxes. Like you have a basic hive with the bees and the queen, and then you put what they call supers on top, big boxes, but they fly up and they fill that with honey. I brought you a few samples to see. This is what Andre puts into the hive, and then the bees will build that up with the wax, and then they fill it with the honey. Just hand it around to the table. It's very interesting to see what good mathematics they have, because every little cell is exactly the same size, exactly, and they have no measuring tape. So, and then they fill it up with honey, like this. They fill it all up, and then they close the cell with wax to keep the honey fresh, and so other insects cannot get to it. So Andre has to have a tool to scrape off the wax that goes into a big container is cleaned and washed, and then put in empty yogurt containers to harden up and it's used for candles and what have you. People come and buy the wax. And these things all go into the spinner, the extractor, like about 70 hives, 70 frames go in there. And the spinning machine, it goes all out, comes out in a big container in the back. And then he puts it through a filter. It's a piece of actually sheer curtain, just to get like the wings out and a paw for a bee or a dead bee or something, so it doesn't end up in the honey. But it keeps all the nutrients in the honey. You don't filter out the nutrients. So hand that out. Well, it's heavy. Yeah, there's almost 2 pounds in heavy. It doesn't do that right now. Yeah, no, it doesn't. But it's something like that. You can see from close up. Also in the winter, we have to insulate the hives. We have, they look like little cubes that go over the top of the hive for insulation. And on top of the lid can be taken off, we put leaves in there, lid on it, insulation box over top. And the bottom, the opening of the hive where the bees come out, always stays open. Because you have to get some air circulation and they have to be able to get out. So after a snowstorm, there you go, they have to go there, clean out all the snow in the front of the hives. There you can see it's a lot of work. We also did pollination, where all the hives go on the big truck and they go to different orchards in the area of pollination. That takes about 4 or 5 days, and then they have pollinated all the apple trees. If we didn't have bees, we would not have crop. We are so dependent on bees and on the pollination. A lot of people don't realize that their fruit and vegetables are covered up, what needs to be done before. So it's extremely important that we take care of our bees. So there's a simple one here. Yes, and so there is like so much to it. But anyway, we love it and we gladly give up our free time in the summer to look after bees. In the spring, the first pollen that is collected is from the willow trees. After that comes the dandelions. After that comes like the apple trees, the blueberry blossoms, and the wildflowers. So the bees are always very, very busy. And they live about 6 weeks, the bee, and then they get like the wings are frayed and they die. But in the meantime, you already have young bees again. The drones, in the early spring, we have the drones, the male bees, to fertilize the female bees. As soon as they've done that, they're done. They die, that's the end of that.
That's their purpose.
Doesn't seem fair.
Short but fun, I guess.
The government keeps a very close eye on us and on our business. They come and they check the hives. You have to tell the government where the hives are, and they go there and check and see if everything is up to snuff. They also take samples from the stores where we sell our honey. They don't tell you that we come on Tuesdays to pick up some honey. No, they just come randomly. And so it's checked for contaminants and the quality, the water content in the hives. It has to be very, very low. If your water content is too high in the hives, the honey starts to ferment and it's garbage. So there sometimes checks, and the frames are full, but they are not capped completely. They have to stay in the hive until they are completely capped and water content is gone. So we need hot weather to evaporate the moisture in there. I also brought some samples that is on the table by Chris. There's a little jar you can take off the lid. and hand it around with the stir sticks and you can taste the honey. We have people who come and they say, wow, we've never tasted honey like this before. We usually get it at Costco for like a big tub for $8. Well, ours is like $15 a kilo for the jar. They go, it's so much more expensive. I said, yes, but you get the real thing. Don't forget that a lot of the cheap honeys, and even from, I have to be very careful with this, Billy Bee, they buy honey from all kinds of beekeepers, from China and Brazil, everything's thrown together, so you don't know where it's coming from. So of course it's a different flavor. There's a big difference in that. So it's with everything else, you get what you pay for. And it's not like, if you think about all the time involved, you really don't make a lot of money out of it, but it's so much time involved. He got a couple times the prize, first prize on the quality and the content of the honey. So, yeah, it's a very high quality honey that you get. It's unpasteurized, because if you pasteurize the honey, you lose all the nutrients. It's like sugar syrup. That's what it comes down to. So you want the unpasteurized kind, which contains all the nutrients. It's also very helpful if you have, say, allergies, pollen allergies. You take like a spoon of honey every day, the whole year through, almost guaranteed next year you barely have any problems, and over time your allergies will go away. Yes.
Sorry, Renee, sorry to interrupt you, but on that topic though, is it true that you should probably eat honey that's in the area you live?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. You have to eat the honey that comes from your own area because of the pollen in your own area to build that resistance. But it does, and I'm talking like from my normal profession, it triggers the immune system. So if you get a little bit of pollen in the honey, it triggers the immune system to make like to get resistance for this pollen. It's a natural process. It works.
So we should buy your honey.
Pardon?
So we should buy your honey.
No, that would be a good thing.
Only if you want to be healthy.
Yeah.
You see my notes here, the second here. Oh, yeah, another thing, what is a big problem nowadays is the stealing of the hives. I'm a member of the Bee Association of Ontario. We go to different conferences. We also got training at Guelph University regarding the beekeeping. But the problem is that nowadays, because there is so few bees, so many hives are destroyed. We know beekeepers, they lost everything over the winter, everything. These hives, they are stolen. They come with a truck where they know where you are, and they take the hives and take them whatever. It also happens in the States a lot, but they use a lot of hives there for the almond pollination. And the fruits there as well. But that's a big thing. So we have other people coming also from the city. They come to our house and they say, where are your bees? And I say, oh, it's sort of north for bees. Yeah, but where? I said, I don't want to tell you because of the problems we have encountered. And I go, oh, okay. Or can we come with our children and can you give us a tour? No, because of liability. If they get stung and they have an allergic reaction, guess where they come knocking on the door, on my door. So we don't do that. See? Yeah, that's sort of, I covered like most of the topics of the beekeeping here. And I also have another thing to show you. What is this? This is brown, this is white. The difference is that this one is filled with propolis. And propolis is like a natural antibiotic. So the bees, they fill that, they seal it with propolis. This is the one that is just made and not filled with honey or anything yet. So it's interesting to see the difference is at home. We also sell honeycomb, like a piece of comb like that, filled with honey, and some people love it, they chew on it and they love it. That's just personal preference. We have different types of honey. We have also, besides the wildflower honey, we also have buckwheat honey and clover honey. Yes, Rachel.
Can you talk about the health of the bees with the commercial honey? Because not a lot of people know this, but vegans don't buy commercial honey because apparently it's something to do with how the bees, the health of the bees. Where local beekeepers tend to be more concerned with the health of the bees as far as making sure that the nutrients are still there so the bees stay healthy.
The nutrients are always there, no matter what beekeeper you're calling. The nutrients are always there. The difference is the treatment they use for the Varroa Mites. There's other environmental factors as well, what kills the bees and affects the central nervous system. What is that called again? That nicotinamide or something like that. It's like it's
Neonicotinoids.
yeah. I always stumble over that word. Yeah, it's a big problem as well. It's used for crops to fight off the insects, especially like in corn. But it is definitely, according to the University of Health, definitely a problem attacking the bees' nervous system. But there again, there is different factors. So you cannot really say my hive is dead because of this or that. It's different factors, but they all play a role. Buckwheat honey is very, very difficult to find. It is one of the most expensive honeys because buckwheat is not really grown anymore. Farmers don't grow buckwheat. So we have a little plot somewhere, where they grow, especially for us, buckwheat. So we have some buckwheat honey in the fall. So when September rolls around, we can breathe a little easier. We have a little bit more time. And by the end of November, we have to do the insulation of the hives and everything else that needs to be done. So then we have a few months left to make frames, because Andre makes all these frames himself. You can also buy them. They're plastic when you buy them. We do not want that. We want to use natural products as much as we can. So we build our own frames. So it stays out of my hair during the winter. Do you have any questions? Fire them off.
I have a comment. You mentioned something about a big hive or a loud noise in your backyard and they were your bees. Were you phoning Andre because there was another queen bee in your house?
Well, exactly. They were coming into on my property. My territorium.
For sure.
Chris.
Renee, can you talk a little bit about the queens? Because I know there's a shortage of them and there's
Yes.
getting queens.
Because our season is so short, we import queens in the early season, mostly from Hawaii. They come with little skirts and they sing. The reason is to grow a queen bee from a cell. It takes about 6 weeks. So if that starts the beginning of June, it's July before that queen is full grown. Then it has to be fertilized. Then it has to start lay eggs. Like, the season is too short. So we import them mostly from Hawaii or sometimes from Australia or New Zealand. We do not want it from the States. And the reason is there is problems with killer bees over there. So you do not want to get the genetics of a killer bee into your hive or into the queens. So, and then during the summer, yes, there will be new queens made as well, but they don't have to do a whole lot of work because by the time they are full grown, it's fall and they go to sleep for the winter. But we lose some hives. We lose like usually about 20% of the hives of winter kill. That's fairly normal actually. But we do pretty good. Like this year it was below 20%. So they are very protected. They are in an area where there's a lot of shrubbery and trees, but they need enough space, like landing space to get into the hive. So you have to get like a big area is free. Shrubbery.
So when you take, you say you take a hive to, I don't know, like an orchard as an example. It's like taking the bull to the cattle farm, I guess. But anyway, how many acres would one hive pollinate?
I
I don't know if that's a fair question. Or not, but
say Archibald's orchard, we pollinate there. How many acres we can be? I don't know. We bring about 25 hives there. I don't know how many acres it is. I have to, that maybe you know,
Oh, one.
about one
Varies with crop
per crop per acre.
per acre. Probably close. Maybe not quite. It depends on what wild bees you got around the area too.
Yeah.
Can you talk about how and why you guys got started doing this? I mean,
Well, he
you're
had-
driving along
yeah.
one day and saw something.
He had a friend who was a beekeeper. There was an elderly gentleman, and who would come, they would visit like back and forth sometimes, and they got talking about bees, and Henry would say to one, "Oh, you want to come sometime with me and see what it's all about?" Sure. So he went with Henry to his yard, and from there the interest sort of grew. So eventually he took over from him, took all the hives over and expanded. But he went to school, he went to University of Guelph to take courses in beekeeping and the nose and the things to do and not to do and so on and so forth. It's an ongoing thing with education, yes.
With all the apple orchards in this area, it must be a prime location for beekeepers. Are there a lot of beekeepers in this area?
Not a whole lot, but you can also get hives trucked in from other areas, like say from Leamington. You can have bees like trucked in into the farmers here in that orchard. There is not enough beekeepers for that. But most orchards around this area, the Bowmanville area I'm talking about, they have their own people who do the pollination. There might be like 5 or 6 beekeepers here, but not all are big, like commercialized like us. A lot of them are on a very small scale.
I'm thinking of all the orchards that the camps have, for example.
Pardon?
All the orchards that the camps have, Aldoma,
Yeah, they have their own bees.
they do.
Yeah, some orchards have their own bees. Algoma has their own bees. Yeah, and they have a beekeeper. I think it's one from Lindsay who comes and looks after the bees, and maybe gets payment and gets the honey. Because it is Algoma going to do with all that and the processing of it, and you know, even the labeling has become so complicated nowadays. You cannot say Canadian honey. It has to say 100%, if it is 100% Ontario honey. And you have to have like one of those code things on your label that has to tell you exactly the amount of sugar in the honey, because honey is of course like a natural form of sugar. The nutrients, it's all cut down in so much of this, so much of that, so much of that. Has to be all on there. Last year we ordered 5,000 labels, and guess what? The government changed their mind. The labels have to be different. There you start all over again. Yeah.
How
So
do you know what's like all the different, you know, I'm presuming it's like interesting. Like, oops, I mean, how do you know that, you know, how much sugar is in it? How many carbohydrates?
we send it up to the University of Guelph
Vitamin
every
A,
year,
yeah. So they
and get it
analyze
analyzed so we get a report.
it.
Yes.
Where do you do your processing? Is it just you and your husband?
Yeah, yeah. We do it at home. We have our basement set up, and that's where we have everything. Do the labeling and, you know, fill in the jars and so on. Yeah, we could be bigger, but we're at the time in our life. We don't, invest anymore like in a bigger business or a big separate area. Farm.
You have a successor in mind, somebody to take over,
Not yet.
like Henry did.
Yeah, no, not yet. No. We are looking for somebody, but also somebody who knows a little bit about it. You can't say, oh, well, down here are my hives and good luck. It doesn't work like that.
It
You
certainly
have to
wouldn't work
find
that way, I'll
somebody
tell you
who
that.
is really interested. It's something different than selling cars.
Anybody can sell cars.
I have another question. You said, I find it very interesting, by the way, so thank you. The bees last 6 weeks.
Yeah.
So in the winter time, they're still active, you say?
Yeah,
So what do they, like, what
but
the
they
heck are
don't
they doing?
reproduce,
No.
they don't work. They just they have to leave one box on the hive with about 100 pounds of honey, and they eat from that during the winter.
So there's like a lot of the bees, they're freeloaders. They come in, they don't work, they eat, they die.
No, they don't come in, no, not really, because bees will not allow a bee from another colony just to come into the hive, they will attack that bee.
No, but I'm just saying that there's bees that are in there, they never pollinate, they just eat and then die.
Well, no, maybe you understood it right. In the summer, they have that process where they do the pollination and gathering the honey, and they're working so hard that they just die from pure exhaustion. That's why they die after 6 or 7 weeks, they're gone. In the winter, the colonies, they reproduce all the time. You have young bees again, and some die and then come back. In the winter, they huddle in the hive. So what's left over from the summer stays in the hive till next spring. But to keep the temperature up, they keep always moving. In the winter, when you go by your hive and you put your ear, you can hear the buzz. So they are moving just to keep warm. And sometimes they go out and flex their wings and then they go back into the hive. Their metabolism slows down quite a bit as well.
So those bees over the winter last longer, they don't die after 6 weeks.
That's
they just
correct.
last-
That's correct. Yeah.
Great.
Wow.
Well,
Any
fascinating.
other questions?
Just a quick one, like, is there enough beekeepers in Ontario that there's like a honey marketing board? Or is it just regulated by the government as far as quality standards and so on? Like, you don't have any quotas that you have to keep to or
No.
nothing like that?
No.
You just sort of self-regulated.
Yes, but like I said, the bee inspectors, they work for the government.
Right.
They keep a close eye on all beekeepers and what they do and on the quality of honey and hives.
So not on the quantity.
No.
You can make as much as you want.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Anything else?
thank you very much, Renee.
If you want to buy honey, you can leave your orders with me.
The queen bee. All right. Happy bucks. What's that?
It's out of your pocket. Oh.
Thank you. Anyway, Sherry and I are just back last Tuesday night from Scotland, which I went last time I was last meeting I was at, we were leaving that day. And we were only there for 7 days for a wedding. And but it was a pretty surreal time. The wedding was on the Isle of Bute and in the castle. And we had the whole wedding party had the castle to ourselves. And Sherry and I stayed overnight the night of the wedding in the castle. It was a pretty cool experience. And we went to Pauline and John's insistence. We went to Edinburgh the day on Monday, which was a trip I'm so glad we took by train. And we stopped at a restaurant that they highly recommended. And I'm glad I was at the end of the trip because lunch was $250. Anyway, I can have a word with my mother about that one. Anyway, it was a great recommendation. We had a lot of fun and certainly a place we'd look forward to going back to. So thank you.
I've got 10 happy bucks here. So last Thursday, I went with, as you know, I love birds, and I went with Leanna and her husband Jim. We went to that place called the Cardinal Melbar, which is in the Kawarthas, and it's this big plain. It's a limestone plain with a very thin layer of soil, and it has a really distinctive vegetation there, and you can see a long way. They have moose, they have bears, and they have tons of birds that you really don't see in a lot of other places. And it was really just an incredible, magical day. It threatened raining all day. It spit a little bit, but it was wonderful. It was an incredible day, a really magical place. We went for a few walks. We drove. We watched the birds from the car, got out, and it struck me too. And I was just looking at Leanna, and I have to thank you guys for that wonderful day. And it struck me that, you know, without Rotary, like I never would have met you guys. Never would have had that magical day. So. You know,
Thank you, Joe.
Okay, and Jim has agreed to lead us on a safari, nature walk, birding expedition, whatever. You don't have to be a birder. We're going to go to the West Side March on Monday. It came up very quickly. Apologies. Jim has a work schedule. He also has to work around, and the birds are sort of passing through right now. Like the bees, they have their own season, and that season is now for migration. So we really can't wait any longer. Lots of incredible birds there. I just looked at a place called eBird where people post the birds they've seen. There's tons of stuff there now. And you don't have to, like, I take a camera, but these guys, you know, they have their binoculars, and it's like really classic. And if you have binoculars, bring those. If you don't have binoculars and just bring your phone, it's a great place to walk around for a couple hours and go 3 or 4 Ks. Hope it doesn't rain. And so thank you very much for that.
You're welcome, Joe. I'll match your happy bucks.
Okay.
Okay.
Very good. Yeah. 5 happy bucks. I want to congratulate the committee that put together the Paul Harris Fellow evening last week, and congratulations to our own newest Paul Harris Fellow CPA. You might not have known, there was another fellow given on Saturday night, and it was pretty special. So Phil and Lorraine Bird, who are members of Wilmot Creek, who were pioneer members of Wilmot Creek, who started Friendly Fridays, who just were the social everything at Wilmot Creek, were honored with their own Paul Harris Fellow on Saturday night during their first dance that they've had back since the pandemic. The wheelhouse was packed. Like, there were so many people there. There was, what, 6 of us Rotarians?
It was probably my favorite Paul Harris.
It was pretty special because they were so moved. They didn't know that they were getting it. You know, Phil, they were both in tears, and you know, it was they're actually moving. So it was really nice. This was kind of their last event at Wilmot Creek, and we were able to honor them, and it was pretty special. So yeah.
I have 2 different things. First, thanks for everyone for donating and bringing food for the Clarence East Food Bank. That was just less than a week. We had $265 in cash, and not just that, groceries. My house is full of stuff that's been dropped off by Rotarians, stuff in my trunk from Rotarians. So $2 for that. The other 2 is for surviving Mossport. Lionel was there. Joe just left. There was, yeah, it was pretty crazy. So yes.
But you survived.
Couple of bucks. Yeah, I was at the Paul Harris Fellows night. Great night. Wonderful. I took a bunch of pictures that I sent to Rachel, and she's put them on Facebook. So if you get a chance, have a look at them. Mossport, yes, I was there. On Saturday, the storm was coming. Just as my shift was finishing, I just got out the gate, and the rain just came down. It was just crazy. You couldn't see 3 feet in front of you. So I had to pull over, stop, and wait for 15 minutes before the rain stopped. And then on the way back, trees all over the roads. Had to come back a few times, but I made it back. It was good. But the Mossport experience was great. It was fun as previously. So next year, or I guess the next one is in July, and the one after that is Labor Day. So if you get a chance, take part in that.
I guess it's a happy duck. It would be nice to be able to attend the bird watching thing on the 6th. However, I've been gently invited to appear for potential jury duty on the 6th of June. Oh, yeah. And when it comes to most part, when that storm hit, I happen to have 2 women with a baby and 2 children. The little boy gave us 5, the little girl maybe 3, on the golf cart, heading out toward Inside 3, if you know where that is. And the kids were screaming. I kept telling them to put their hands over their faces to keep the, because it was just coming horizontal. And we managed to get them down. I don't think you can go any further on the campsite in Inside 3 than where they were. Deposited them and then headed back because I come with a friend of mine who didn't have a key to my car. I had no idea where the heck he was. So yeah, it's a good time. Everybody should go.
It's really selling.
Yeah. All right, I'm gonna load up here. First off, thank you to the club. Like I said, when I was getting Paul Harris, it's kind of awkward to get one to see a past president because you're only as good a president as some of your club. So thanks for everything you did to make my year good. As much as COVID, you have to do. Second thing was, like Don, last Tuesday took off after the meeting. Had a fantastic week away. Met my favorite director by chance, Guy Ritchie at his own club. Had a good conversation with him. The end of the week was with some of the cast of Ted Lasso, so I had some drinks with them and saw the sites. And then a whole bunch of other really just fantastic stuff happened. It seemed every time we turned around, someone was doing something good for us. As we got between 32 different pubs.
How many?
32. That only counts a single visit, right? Well, we Google tells us these things, right? So I wasn't kind of keeping track of my fingers. And finally, you mentioned Mossport. So I am in London as Mossport is happening, and ping on my phone. Tori sends me a picture of Vivian, who was working low with Brogy. He got cracked in the head by a van door screen. So sends me this picture of Vivian with blood all over, like her face was red, right? And I'm like, what am I supposed to do? But as they were in hospital, I was looking for flights home, but she's okay. After a few days of concussion protocol, she was fine. And cheers to Sully, who knew she was there and went to find her to see if she was safe. So.
Does anybody online want any happy bucks before I move on? No, we're good. All right, so a couple of announcements. We were invited as a club to Trinity United Church. So this weekend on Sunday morning, they've been kind of doing this leading up to, I think this past weekend, they were kind of honoring all the past staff and ministers and whatnot. This weekend, they are honoring their partnerships and relationships with the community. So we have been invited, service is at 10:30. If anybody does want to attend, please let me know because I need to let the office know how many people are going to be there. So I will be there. I was offered 2 invitations. So the funeral home's going, so I will be there. But if anybody has any greetings that they want to bring to the members of Trinity Church, you can send them to me and I will pass those along as well. I can certainly try and remember to do that, yes. I don't write it down. I also just wanted to thank everybody. We've had a tough couple of weeks in terms of losses for Rotary members. Obviously, Sunday was Wayne's celebration of life, which was so well attended. And I had to laugh because Carol looked at me and she's like, I'm overwhelmed with the number of people. I said, well, then you're the only one, because everybody else expected there to be a great turnout for Wayne. So that was really well attended. Also, Keith Hill lost his dad. His celebration of life is this coming weekend in Tottenham. Jason obviously lost his dad. His service was last Saturday. I'm telling you, I don't know if anybody saw it. They were dancing at the funeral home by the end of the day. And Phil Benner's mom passed away as well, and her celebration of life was last weekend as well. So it's been a you know, just keep everybody in your thoughts. It's been a lot for our little club. Rib Fest. Steve, do you want to start it off?
Well, why not Rebecca first?
Okay, Rebecca,
Can you hear me okay?
now we can, yep.
Okay, perfect. So I just wanted to send a quick note. I think many of you got my email last week. So Lisa and I are in charge of making the schedule for RibFest. That being said, I hate to be a nuisance, but we haven't heard from about 70% of you. So as you know, RibFest is our biggest fundraiser and we need people to make it happen. So the fact that we haven't heard from any of you is a little concerning because we need to make that schedule sooner rather than later. So I just kind of want to give a little gentle push and just say, let us know as soon as you can when your availability is. We would love to be able to make the schedule this weekend, to be able to notify everyone and to reach out to our high schools with students who have asked to assist as well. So if you could let us know by Thursday, early Friday morning, that would be fantastic.
Okay, I'm not gonna be as nice as Rebecca. Guys, we need to step up. Okay, it's been 2 years that we haven't done this. This is our big event and we need our volunteers. This is like, we all expect that we have to do Christmas tree shifts. We need to put a shift in at RibFest. So whether it be the Thursday setup, whether it be the Friday, Saturday, the cleanup Sunday, you know, Rebecca, I love how tactful you were, but yeah, we've got a ton of student volunteers. The student volunteers need adults to supervise them. So that's where we step in. I know that there's some of us who've already put it out there, but yeah, please let Rebecca and Lisa know.
Well, and even it's just funny, I was just going to say quickly, Amy, maybe just to give a little push, we have more student volunteers than Rotary volunteers, almost twice as many. So if that doesn't inspire you, then I'm hoping you will let us know.
Yeah, with a committee of about a dozen of us, right? That means that, you know, who other than the dozen on the committee of the name of the list. So if you haven't signed up, make sure you talk to the Rotarians to get them signed up. I'm sure you'll see the first email. But that said, we're getting very close, right? It was nerve-wracking a couple or 3 months ago. We got off to a bit of a late start planning. Vendors are coming in well, sponsors have come in well. I think the dollar count is $68,000 and then some. I think I've heard of a few more sponsors that have come in since then. So we're probably going to tip over $70,000 in sponsorship, which is fantastic. We had a scare with policing. They came back with very nearly double what they were in 2019. And I went up and down them pretty hard. Apparently there was a clerical error. I stressed that this wasn't about buying side-by-sides and fixing decks and cottages for the police officers, and we're back down within tolerance of what we were in 2019, with a promise to revisit and probably knock it down by 25% for next year. If everything continues to go well, they were a little nervous to drop it down this year because first time in 2 years, right? But a whole bunch of moving things have happened. I know Chris is still nervous about a few things. We're having a meeting tonight on my deck. If there's something that that you want to get across, 6:30 at 131 Wellington, come on by. But the committee is there. We've got most of our ducks in a row. It's volunteers. You can't run without volunteers, and he needs more than one shift, right? One needs to spend a shift a day there to make it work well. Because we've got people from the club that have taken major leadership roles as well, picking up not only the planning time, but the time during the event. So it's gonna be a good time. Hope to see you all there. And if you have any questions, reach out to me. Gord's out of town for another couple of days with Chris. Okay.
Joe was going to share Gail's quote of the week.
Sure.
I'll just do it from here. So this is from Maya Angelou, poet, writer. Try to be the rainbow in someone else's cloud.
And after the rain at Mosport. See that rainbow. Okay, so our next meeting is next Tuesday morning, which is, I believe we're having Scouters come next week, so Christine. Yeah, Leanna, and so Christine and Sean, I think are joining us. So, yeah, so we'll look forward to seeing you. Guys, reach out, Rebecca and Lisa, let's get these volunteer shifts filled, and with that, if there's nothing else for the good of Rotary, we will see everybody next week.